The poem that we have decided to analyze is The Long Deployment by Jehan Debrow. In the first slide, we have highlighted elements from the dramatic situation of the poem. We have chosen a background image of a woman lying in a bed and changed the colors to black and white in order to give the image a depressed feel, because that is what we feel the emotional state is that the author is trying to convey to the audience. To begin with the purple highlighted portion, we have chosen to highlight the reoccurring phrases, "For weeks I breathe his body in the sheet." We have done so to explain the situation of the poem. We feel the situation is a woman talking about her significant other, who we assume to be her husband, being absent from a spot in the bed where he once laid. This gives the audience a visualization of where the woman feels the absence of her husband most. Moving on to the blue highlighted phrase, "With each deployment I become an aesthete of smoke and oak." We are getting a sense of the setting from the speaker. We can begin to realize that her husband is on active duty with a branch in the military, and with each deployment she has a growing appreciation of these specific scents that are reminding her of her husband. We feel the speaker is making it clear that she clings on to these scents more and more each time her husband leaves. Finally, we analyze the turquoise highlighted phrase of, "And then he's gone, not even the conceit of him remains, not the resinous base." This is a case in which we realize that there was an instance in which her husband did not return from the deployment, and we can assume that the lingering scents that were once breathable from him are disappearing and finally completely vanish. This is the point in the poem where the speaker is conveying a sense of loss, and that the disappearance of the scents altogether make the disappearance of her husband a reality. This next slide is a breakdown of the rhyme scheme for the poem. We have highlighted the different rhymes and broken it down into an AAB pattern with one variation in the first line in which it reads ABA. All the rhymes are full or true rhymes. The connection in which this rhyme scheme has to the poem is the consistency in which the rhyming relates to the consistency she feels throughout her life. She is used to the constant departure of her husband with his return at some point. The way in which the rhyme deviates from a connection to the poem is when her consistency is interrupted and her husband doesn't return, and the poem moves from present tense to past tense. The last slide is a breakdown of the vehicle and the tenor. Highlighted in blue is the vehicle or literal context of a woman lying in bed. The speaker is explaining the place she is and the moments in which she can smell the scents of her husband. In these instances, she is relating the scents of her husband to tangible smells. The pink highlighted portion is where the metaphors are present in the poem. She is comparing bittersweet smells, which we believe is a comparison to her situation. The relationship she has to her husband and his work is bittersweet in the sense that he is doing a duty for our country, yet he is having to leave her every time he does so. Moving on to the orange highlighted section, we have placed that as the WTF moment. This is the point in which we realize that the speaker might be talking about her deceased husband. We go from thinking that he is just away for a short period of time to possibly thinking that he is gone permanently. This is compared to a bottle emptying, in which we interpreted to a bottle of perfume running low, and at some point going completely empty and losing its scent. Finally, the yellow section is the emotional logic and resolution in which we start to understand why his scent is beginning to fade, and our previous wonders during the WTF moment are validated because the speaker changes the tense to past, which forces us to now know that her husband is in fact dead.